their success. They look pretty much the way a sort of a Barcelona or a Manchester United would.
How ironic is this in real terms if indeed the US leagues work on vaguely socialist principles and the European teams are capitalism, red in tooth and claw? How does that work?
It's quite a striking cultural shift. It's not what you'd expect, and certainly traditionally you've seen this kind of capitalist system operating in European football where teams have been incredibly competitive and there's very little revenue sharing and costs get out of control, and it looks from a profitability point of view, it looks more like the way capitalism is meant to work, where in a real competitive market firms don't make very much money because they're spending all their money on providing a better service for their customers. I think what's interesting now is, and when people talk all the time about financial fair play and how this is going to improve European soccer, regulations introduced by UEFA to stop clubs from going bankrupt and to limit the amount that they spend, well, actually, I think that's the start of a process of Americanization. The leagues are going to be turned into more of a collusive and collective kind of system like the one they have in the United States. I think people should worry about that because I think it's going to lose some of the competitive strength that has made European football so great for so many years.
Now, one extraordinary example of this collective action that you're talking about is the draft, isn't it, in American football? Just explain how on earth that works.
One of the important things is that most of the players coming into the professional leagues in the United States come through one of two ways. They're either coming out of a high school team, which is true in, for example, in baseball, or they're coming out of a college team, which is more so the case in basketball and American football. So the arrangement is that rather than those players coming out being able to sell themselves to the highest bidder, they are allocated through a draft system which says, well, each team gets to pick a player who they want to hire, and once that player's been picked by a team, that player must negotiate an agreement with that team and cannot go to anybody else. So in other words, the player hasn't got the ability to play off one team against another in order to get the highest salary. And this is justified on the grounds that the way the draft worked is it's the team that did worst in the previous season that gets to make the first pick. So the leagues argue that this is a way of balancing up the competition, ensuring that the best players go to the weakest teams and so balance up competition in the future.
The team that's done absolutely the worst is going to get the top flight player. It's almost impossible to think about that in terms of, say, the English Premier League and how it might work there. Can you imagine that?
Exactly. So you could imagine that sort of had Wayne Rooney been subject to this system, instead of ending up at Manchester United, he might have been